not gonna lie, I'm kind of living for this new background, even though I'm kind of like slumped over right now. This is my new apartment. Welcome to my new apartment. I don't know why I started the vlog off that way, but welcome back to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome if you have not. My name is Kate, for those of y'all that are just now joining me for the first time. This is probably my most anticipated video for myself since I started the summer, and I've been wondering, like, when should I make this? I wanted to have enough time where I came out of the sorority, I processed it, I, took the good, took the bad, kind of like made it all one video. And I was actually going to make this video in two different parts. Part A was going to be the positives of being in a sorority, and then part B was going to be the negatives. And I was really set on doing it that way, but then the more I was thinking about it, I didn't want to just make one video about the negative things and have it be such a negative video. So I wanted to do both together. So I don't know if this is going to end up being a longer video, but I want to put all of my 4 years of thoughts into one video and give you guys the most accurate description of my time being in a sorority. It was some of the best years of my life. I joined when I was a freshman, just to give you guys kind of a little background on me. My process was a little bit different. So what I did was called colonization. So I helped start my sorority on my campus. And that takes a little bit more effort than just like going through rush and starting in a chapter. People from nationals came down and they interviewed us. We went through the kind of steps like Sisterhood Day, Preference Day, Philanthropy Day, and we met different people from different chapters, and all came together. We ended up being the first class on my chapter. So I'm going to give a little disclaimer and say, my experience is going to be a little bit different than others, because building a new chapter is not the easiest thing you can do. It takes a lot of work. So I'm going to make sure that was kind of my disclaimer before I dive into everything. I'm going to start with the positives of being in a sorority. But I will say, before I get into the negatives, I'm not lying to you guys, it's about even my pros and my cons. But it was a lot of learning experiences that I had to do, and so let's just get into it. So I'm going to start off by saying that the women that were in my chapter were amazing, and it was a great way to expose yourself to a lot of amazing people that have something similar to you. Everyone in college comes from different backgrounds and everything, but this sorority organization is basically your way to make friends and have something in common. So you guys might come from different backgrounds, different social statuses, have different hobbies, but being in a room with those girls is your way of having something in common with them that can start a friendship up out of nothing, and that's really cool. Something else that I wanted to bring up is paying for your friends. So everyone says that, and that's not a thing, but I could see where it comes from. So each chapter is kind of different when it comes to their payment plans. Either you have like a set price, and that's gonna have everything in it, like your tickets to date nights, your tickets for formal, everything like that is all in one inclusive price. With my chapter, it was kind of like pay monthly as you go. You pay for like this set amount of things, and then anything extra is added on. So you're not paying for your friends, you're paying for the environment and the social scene. But I will straight up tell you, you're not going to be friends with all of the girls. Maybe you're friends with 90% of them, but you're not going to be friends with every single one of them. You're buying the social scene of it, and you're going to pay what? If you go to a club, you're going to pay whatever amount to get in, buy your drinks, whatever. Or you pay for a formal event where you're getting dressed up and you're having dinner and everything. Like, you're paying for both either way. It's just a different kind of social scene. So you're not paying for your friends. That's definitely not a thing. Being in a sorority also helps you find like a place when you're first starting out and you're kind of lost. I didn't have any friends that came into my college with me. I've said that in a couple other videos. So I literally had no friends, and I was starting fresh. What I ended up doing is joining a sorority, which opened me up to so many different people, and that's how I got my solid friend group at the beginning. I hung out with maybe, I'd say like 10 to 15 girls continuously. There was about 200 of us that joined. I'm gonna get into that later on about how many stayed in after joining. You are exposed to so many people, and regardless if they stay in the chapter or not, you have made friends with them, and you're not gonna just quit being friends just because they're not in the chapter. But I will get into something that has to do with friends later in the cons, so stay tuned for that too. There are a lot of really cool leadership opportunities in sororities, so if that's something you're interested in, I would definitely focus on that during recruitment when you're trying to find a good chapter for you. Something that was really big for me was leadership opportunities. My minor, per se, I have a certificate in leadership studies, so something really important to me was to have a position and to grow with the chapter. And so finding a chapter that you think can help your resume and help you find things that you're good at. Like, you might be great at making t-shirts, so go for t-shirt chair. You might be great at planning social events, go for social chair. You might just be good at finances. Someone's got to do it. So there's a little bit of positions for everyone that helps pad your resume, and you're making these kind of connections. And you also get advisors in your chapters, so you can get really good advice from them, and they can kind of help you through, you know, if you need a recommendation later in life, you have your advisor to look back on. And you know, so you get a really cool community. You can have leadership positions that can open up other doors for you. I think that's a really big pro of being in a sorority. I think that it really helps you, you know, find what you're good at. And another thing that's also a plus is you always have friends in your class. I remember my first day of freshman year, I didn't know anybody in my classes. And after I went through colonization, I looked over and I saw a girl wearing the same bid day tank as me. And I was like, hey girl, we should be pals. She was so happy that like she had a friend. I was so happy that I had a friend. So it really helps you like have like a community that, especially in your major, so you guys can kind of help each other throughout the years. I know at least 3 girls that are in the same major as me, and even though I'm alum now, I still am able to go to them for questions and advice. And you know, do you have this textbook? Can I buy this textbook off of you? Have you taken this test? Can you help me study for it? You know, things like that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is an exclusive social scene. And that's kind of weird to say, because it's not that like you're in and when being in a sorority, but you are open to more events than if you weren't in a sorority. So, you know, you can still go to like fraternity parties and things like that if you're not in a sorority, but it's really fun to like get dressed with your sisters and go to like a mixer with you and another fraternity, and you know, have these like themed events. And you know, every school is different, but themed events are kind of like a Greek thing, and they're just so fun. You feel like you're in high school again, dressing up. I remember my very first freshman mixer was like an airplane pilots and stewardess themed event. So all the guys were in like pilot hats, and all of the girls were in like, you know, cute little neck scarves. I'll see if I have a picture to throw up for you guys. But it just opens up a whole new social scene for you, and it's really cool and a lot of fun to do in college. Something that I've noticed now that I'm alum is you really do make lifelong friends by being in a sorority. During your time, you usually make a lot of friends. I started out with like maybe, you know, 20 girls I was talking to, like I said earlier. And you know, throughout the years, you get closer to other girls, you know, you meet other people, and then you know, get closer to 2, and then, you know, maybe you get closer to 2 the next year. Like, you really do make lifelong friends. I have so many people that I hang out with now that I wouldn't have met if I wasn't in my sorority, and they're really my lifelong friends. And I can't wait to have like daughters that are in the same sorority as I was, and just something in common with the people around me. It's just, you make lifelong friends and lifelong memories. So those were a lot of the pros of being in a sorority. And the cons, I don't want to sit here and like bash being in a sorority, but I have to talk about the pros and cons. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I want everyone to know what to expect when going in. And like I said, my experience is my experience, and your experience could be completely different. But this is kind of where I'm gonna start off with the negative. My first con of being in a sorority has to do with me being a colony member. So as I said earlier, I colonized my chapter in 2015, and there was about 200 of us. And by the time I was a senior, you know, granted some of them went alum, some of them transferred, there was about 30 of us max. 70 girls kind of dropped because it wasn't what they expected. They transferred. You know, there's a lot of different things, and it sucks to like be in a chapter and then have so many of your friends leave, and then you're like, well, why am I still here? Why are they gone? And you know, you question a lot of things depending on your placement in the chapter. You know, seeing the numbers go down really like made me sad, but I remember some of the girls that were advisors, they told me that this is normal and starting a new chapter isn't easy. So I think that's very like situational if you are in a chapter that's established versus not. But I did talk to a couple of my friends that are in sororities outside of mine, and they said that it's very similar to theirs, that a lot of girls drop over time. You know, finances, it's not what they expected, like I said. So it could be a lot of different reasons, but it just kind of, a lot of people leave, and that's just the truth. And I don't know if that's the same at every school, but I know that's the same at mine, just because Greek life as a whole has been kind of frowned upon lately, which makes me really sad because it was a great time for me. But a lot of people are starting to see the negatives of it because of these bigger schools. So I will admit it's starting to go a little bit downhill with numbers, but you know, just stick with it if it's something that you love, and always remember to find the good in the moments why you stayed, and it'll remind you like, I did this for a reason. Something that really bothered me was how much nationals had a say over our chapter. And honestly, some chapters really need the guidance, but it really did a damper on me because I felt like they were making decisions for me and they didn't personally know me. I'm gonna get into one of my other negatives and kind of combine the two so it makes more sense. So with our leadership positions, since we were a newer chapter, we had to go to nationals and kind of like petition for a position basically and kind of have an interview. And so they kind of picked people based on what they wanted and they didn't know us. So you can put on a show for nationals, but like your sisters are the ones that have been there with you for a year and can kind of vouch for you if you'd be a good leader or not. But other people are, you know, putting up a front and saying, oh, I'd be an amazing leader. And then, you know, nationals is telling you you're not good enough or you can't do this. And it just kind of crushed my heart because I'm like, you aren't the one making my decisions. My sister should be making these decisions. And more established chapters, let's talk about that as well. I've heard a lot of people saying that, you know, it's kind of a popularity contest when it comes to these leadership positions. And, you know, some people are really qualified and they can get these positions and it's great. But other times people are like, oh, I want her to be vice president because she has a good look for us. And like, I get that and that is important, but also like, is she qualified? Would she put the time and effort in? Like, it's very iffy when it comes to that kind of stuff, which is one of my biggest regrets within my chapter was I don't feel like my leadership skills were put to good use as a leadership studies minor, certification, whatever you want to call it. I really wanted that to be a big part of my time in a chapter. You know, that was my reason for joining. I wanted to take leadership roles, be in charge, and help make the chapter something bigger. But nationals was coming in and saying, we want this person because you are too confident. You need to take a step back and give someone else a time to shine. And I'm like, if the chapter thinks that that's true, then I agree with them. But if you, who doesn't know me, thinks that, then, you know, I'm gonna go into a rant. I'm not trying to bring my personal feelings into it. That's just one of my cons, is leadership positions kind of can be a popularity contest. Sometimes when people do get into leadership positions, they get a little power hungry and they start making decisions that aren't really the best because they want to either make their image look better or I don't even know. Just sometimes people get a little power hungry when they get a little bit of power. So if you are someone that ends up being in a sorority and you end up wanting to take a leadership position, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and make sure you have everyone's best intentions when you're making these decisions. So something that I don't really like about sororities in general is they become very cliquey, and it's not in a bad way. It's not a Mean Girls kind of cliquey. It's different friend groups kind of become a thing. You know, you hang out with the same 10 girls all the time, you're gonna kind of become a little group, and then you take a little and your little becomes into the group, and then they take a little and the next one becomes. But then there's always like the floaters within the sororities where like they have multiple groups. Try to be that floater, try to have a lot of friends. Don't just distance yourself into one group because you could have made so many other friends. And then I remember one time I ended up talking to this girl that wasn't necessarily in like my friend group, and we had a class together and I ended up liking her so much and she liked me too, and I was like, wow, I wish I would have hung out with you a lot sooner. Now I'm graduating, you know? So make sure you like open yourself up to different friendships and different groups if you're in a clique or per se. It's just the thing about sororities, it just kind of happens. You get a bunch of groups of girls together, you're gonna kind of migrate together and break off into groups. So that's just the thing. One thing that I've noticed with a lot of different people, myself, people outside of my sorority, you go through phases of loving it and hating it. So your freshman year, you're so excited, you're in the chapter, you're getting to go to these parties. Sophomore year, you're taking a little, you're so excited to introduce her to all your friends. Junior year, you start dwindling down or you're taking these like higher up leadership positions. Senior year, you're kind of checked out. But you go through these phases of like, I love my chapter. You could go to one event, it could refresh that you love them so much and you remember why you joined and you remember why this chapter was the one that you had to be in. Like you could just do one icebreaker game at like a retreat and it could refresh your mind for everything. But you do go through these little phases of loving and hating your chapter and just a sorority life in general. So that is normal. Don't give up hope. It'll go away. You'll have something to remind yourself why you loved it, why you joined. So another point I want to talk about is the price. It gets very expensive if you were paying for your own college, which is what I had to do. I mean, I don't really know how to elaborate on this, but if you are having financial problems, try to work with your financial vice president or whatever you call it in your chapter, and like work with them. They will work with you for the most part. It is what it is. Like, I stopped buying as many t-shirts so I could go to more social events because I was paying for it on my own. You just kind of have to pick and choose what's the best for you when it comes to financial capabilities. The last con I want to talk about is how a small group of people can ruin your experience. This one I feel like might just be directed towards me, not gonna lie there. For me, I went in and I did the whole cliquey thing that I told you not to do, and I had a group of set girls, and when I quit being friends with them, a lot of them started like bashing me to other girls, and then like going to social events would make me uncomfortable. But the good thing about it is talking to other people about it makes you feel less alone, and just because those couple girls might not like you, it's not gonna mean that all 200 of the girls in your chapter don't like you. You kind of just have to find a way to distance yourself. It was really hard for me, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was very upset about it. I felt very attacked, and just a couple girls can ruin it when you've made so many memories. I almost stopped after 4 years of being in a sorority just because one girl decided to be mean to me, or like 2 or 3 girls started to attack me, just saying very hurtful things. And then I went to an event and I talked to this girl who I wasn't very close with, and she was like, you know, I feel the same way. And I was like, huh? And you know, it's just like power in numbers. You have to realize there's more people out there. Just kind of broaden your horizon. It can get cliquey. Any group of girls, whether it's a sorority or a group or just a friend group of women, it's gonna get cliquey and people are gonna hate each other here and there. But you know, find other people. You're in that group. There's so many resources available to you, so take advantage of them. And then the other thing I want to kind of leave off with is find a chapter. I'm going to talk about this more in like my recruitment video that's coming later on. Make sure you're finding a chapter that's in line with your morals, and that's the biggest part, is finding your right fit. You might go through the recruitment process and you're like, wow, this sorority is so popular and they get to hang out with XYZ fraternity. But if they don't have the morals that you have, or you don't feel like you're gonna fit in, you're constantly gonna be judged, make sure you're not picking it based off of your social status or whatnot. But yeah, so I really hope this video gets to some of y'all. I hope it means a lot to some of you guys. Whether you're considering going through recruitment, or you've already gone through recruitment, or you're a new girl and you're trying to decide if you love it, if this is for you, or if you've already been in it for a while and you're just wondering what I have to say, or you know, I just hope this speaks to some of y'all. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really did love being in a sorority. I think it was a big growth for me that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't join. And regardless of the good and the bad, I would do it again in a heartbeat, just because I feel like I've become the woman I am today because of the hardships that I've gone through and the ultimate highs that I've had just being in a room with supportive women. So I will see you guys next Thursday, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Bye!